man.
But
It's
let's
just
start off. Let's start off
yeah.
the night, man, with the obvious topic, man. I wanna get the opinions about Palworld versus Pokemon. Let's start there because that's gonna be quite a conversation. So, uh, apparently, the Pokemon Company announced that it will investigate Palworld's on IP infringement. Now, the question I want to start off with, because it's a very very clear cut question in my opinion, is Palworld copyright infringement to you?
No.
No. This is lip service from Nintendo. They would have had this game has been announced for 3 years. There's been trailers for like a year and a half, 2 years. Nintendo is one of the most litigious companies in the fucking world. If they were gonna do something, they'd have done something already.
Do you
They
think they're
nuke
only doing
everything.
something because the game is massively successful?
I don't
Yes,
think they're actually
because
doing something. They
I
say
don't think
they're
they're
going to
actually doing anything at
investigate
all.
it.
Yeah.
I think that's lip service. I don't even think they're going to investigate shit.
yeah,
Why-
Yeah,
why
I
would
don't think so either. I think they're just basically what they're basically saying is, yes, all right, we know it exists. Stop emailing us. We're just gonna because they can't do anything. I mean, the reality is, even if they look like Pokemon and even if the art style is extremely derivative of Pokemon, none of these pals exist in Pokemon.
Right.
They're not,
yeah, they don't.
they're
It's
at
the monster
worst an
breeder.
homage, a homage. So yeah, no, it's just rubbish. I just don't think that anything will happen at all.
I think it's too early. I think it's too early.
They didn't
to
do
say
anything about Digimon, so
Yeah.
Or
Yeah,
Yokai
yeah.
Watch or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or insert anything else here that's got something as a similar aesthetic to Pokemon.
Well, that was my
Yeah.
argument. My argument was that if you're going to say that Palworld is copyright infringement on Pokemon and they have a right to that lawsuit, then there should have been way more lawsuits for a lot more different IPs that have come out over the last 10, 20 years, in my
Right.
opinion, because there's so many different things that have inspired other things in media that you can make correlations to a lot of different content that you could say, well, that's a ripoff of this. This is a ripoff of that. People say that Harry Potter is a ripoff of Lord of the Rings to an extent. And you know how many different
What?
IPs? No, they
Technically,
do.
you could say
And they also say
everything's a
Star
ripoff of
Wars
Lord
too.
of
They
the
say it's a ripoff of Star Wars too, because you can make comparisons between the story. But my thing is that if that's the case, then really nothing will inspire anything. If you're gonna go to that point, where you're gonna make that strict of a statement, you can literally find a lawsuit in almost anything. Anything.
Exactly. Why hasn't Akira Toriyama sued Sega over Sonic and Dragon Ball? Oh, what? Golden Super Form? 7 Dragon Balls, 7 Emeralds, Vegeta and Shadow? Like, Sonic is literally
Super
kid-friendly
Sonic.
Dragon Ball Z.
Correct.
And there's never been a lawsuit there. This is absolute bunk.
Right.
Man, the thing, what y'all said though, have been, I don't want to say drastically different, but different enough to where you can see it as its own thing. If you know Pokemon, you see all of these pals and you see so many derivatives or like little fusions or whatever. So I won't say that it's like copying your homework or whatever, but I would say it definitely lacks a creativity. I
would agree with that, but lacking creativity is different than flat out copyright infringement.
That's what I said. I said that if you're heavily, it's very clear. I'm not defending Palworld. It is unbelievably heavily inspired by Pokemon. Let's be real. It is. But
although
that
the
doesn't
actual
mean
gameplay is very different.
It is, but that doesn't mean that now goes into copyright territory where you have the ability to say this game is like our game or this is infringing on our copyright, our IP, whatever. You can't say that because it's totally different names. I think more than half of the creatures are different. Some of them are obviously blatant ripoffs, and the entire way that the game actually functions is completely different from Pokemon. What? Because you throw a ball that immediately means that it's Pokemon. Like
Sorry, go for it.
No,
there's a literal genre called Metroidvania where all these other games are derivative of Metroid and Castlevania. None of them got sued by Konami or Nintendo. Like that's a genre name.
Look at From Software. They created an entire genre called Souls-like games, where all games are basically ripoffs of Dark Souls and Demon Souls and all that. It literally became its own genre. You even have other games that are called Diablo-like because they're all ripoffs of what is considered to be one of the most prominent dungeon crawlers there ever was. So I don't know. I feel like it is such a reach because people I think are arguing from a place of emotion in the sense that they're mad that this game that is not Pokemon has taken the success and the basically they're wishing this game was Pokemon, right? They're mad at the fact that this is not actually a Pokemon game, so they go out and they defend it and they say, oh, this is copyright, this is a ripoff, this is this and that. You wish this was Pokemon. You're mad that Pokemon Company, Nintendo, and everyone didn't actually give you what you really wanted, which was a Pokemon game, which is a multiplayer game available on PC that you can play with your friends and all that. Like, they didn't give you that. So unfortunately, Palworld saw the opening, which was it. I'm sorry, dude. I've seen this opening in the market for years. This was something that people have been asking for fucking years. I don't even know if we're almost at a decade at this point, but people have been asking for this for years, and Pokemon Company slept at the wheel completely. And Nintendo, as the publisher, obviously they're so focused on exclusivity, they're not even thinking about potentially even coming to PC. So they slept there. They all slept. Everybody slept. And now people are getting mad because this game has 8 million whatever sold copies plus.
Yeah,
in effort to be fair, I will say I have seen some individuals on X that are making legitimate good arguments about the use of heavy inspiration and what that means for artistic integrity. And I've been blocked by idiots talking about Palworld, and I've had some actual legitimately good engagements with people talking about Palworld. And while I don't necessarily agree with them, I can at least appreciate the ones that are coming in good faith. That's different than the bitch-made Sony and Nintendo fans who are like screaming at Nintendo to investigate. That's it's one thing to be fans of something and have a legitimate discussion, as opposed to running and crying to mommy and daddy billion-dollar company.
Yeah, I mean, you're right about sometimes there are games that exhibit some traits from either one game specifically or multiple games, but that still doesn't change the fact that because of the different art style and game mechanics and even other things, okay, like the soundtrack and all these kinds of stuff, it makes it a unique, different game. Legally, that's how it is. Okay, like I could say, you can literally say Last Epoch it uses elements of both Diablo 3 and Path of Exile, yet it is completely different because it doesn't copy them piece by piece. It used the concepts and made some new with it. So that's my opinion on that.
Yeah, Palworld. The gameplay is nothing like Pokemon. I'm playing it right now. I've even shared my screen if you want to put it up just for context for anyone who may not have actually seen this game. It plays more like Breath of the Wild to actually control,
Oh no, Fortnite.
And Fortnite, the base building. Yeah, aesthetically it looks a bit like Fortnite. The pals look like Pokemon. There's me. I made myself.
Yeah. To be fair, people are talking about the lawsuit. Again, in all fairness, people are talking about the lawsuit being about the literal art of the pals themselves.
Well, that's what I was going to bring up.
Lofty was saying something about them ripping character models, and that was a point of contention for a bit. But then the person that made the Twitter post that was showing how the models were ripped later admitted to fudging the models so that it worked in his favor. And I think that right there, that doesn't exactly help your case. I mean, again, is it lazy? I don't think anyone's arguing that it's not lazy. But the argument is it grounds for a lawsuit? And I do not think so. I mean, I'm not exactly a Japanese legal scholar, believe it or not.
It's pettiness, bro. So. It's pure pettiness because Nintendo was getting harassed by, their support department was getting harassed, as you said, by all the fanboys that are a bunch of soy boys, and they were like, "Oh my god, this is copying you. I don't like it. Do something about it." And then they did this lawsuit because they want to get it over with, and they know they're not going to win it, but they at least want to say that they did, so nobody goes after them and says, "Oh, you didn't do nothing."
There's no actual lawsuit yet, right? They're just
they haven't. They're not
exactly.
suing anybody.
There's not going to be.
They just said they're going to investigate, which is basically just a nice way of fobbing off a Pokestans.
Yeah, they won't even mention the company by name.
Now, to be fair, there actually is a lawsuit for stolen Zelda assets. I will say that there is actually, I've noticed at least one blatantly stolen asset from The Legend of Zelda. So technically, Nintendo does have grounds for a lawsuit there, but that's not what anyone's talking about. So I don't think it really matters.
No, I'm just reading this right now, and I just find it interesting. They won't even mention the game or the company. They're just very vague.
Yeah, they're even protecting themselves because if they were to just go in like a bull in a china shop, they could very easily find themselves in the actionable position for defamation and things like that. If they attack what they call Pocket Pair and accuse them of blah 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 and start mentioning them in press facing commentaries, then they're the ones who become actionable. You know what I mean?
Well, it's a good job. It really is a good job that Reality Base did not represent the Pokemon Company in carving out a statement, because me and my regulars were so accurate that we labeled the company who made Palworld as Japanese company, a Chinese company, and an American company in the span of 20 minutes, which is why I haven't cut it up.
I made that mistake. To be fair, I thought it was a Chinese company in the first video I made about it. So when I made the second video, I had to correct to be like, nah, because I want to be kept honest. If I'm wrong about something, I want people to tell me I'm wrong. My commenter's like, no, Leon, it's a Japanese company. I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll make a second video. I'll rectify my mistake because it is worth being like I don't want to be
ripping stuff off.
No, I get that.
I don't know much about the whole lawsuit stuff and, grounds for somebody winning or losing or whatever. Do y'all think, my question or how I'm looking at it is, do y'all think Palworld will last, or is it just a fad? I honestly think it's a fad. I think it's just making waves right now because it's different, or it's derivative of things that we do enjoy.
It kind of reminds me, AJ, of when Fall Guys came out of nowhere and became incredibly popular, and then it fell out of favor, but Fall Guys is still here today. I think the same will happen in regards to Palworld, but if this niche is not filled by other kinds of games, then I think they've cornered the market in respect to this kind of game.
I got a response to that, but I want everybody to respond.
Really quick, I actually want to answer your question with a question, AJ. Do you think that Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be a fad?
No. I
think we should apply the same thing to Palworld. Baldur's Gate 3 had the same sort of developments.
The reason I say that, Leon, is because there's a lot of like action adventure RPGs, fantasy or whatever. So I think it's just kind of like they do different things or appeal to certain individuals in that area that's already interested in that game. The reason I say I think Palworld is a fad, and I actually am, I'm not going to say disgusted. I think that's too strong of a word. But, people like myself who enjoy Monster Tamers, I've been waiting on a Monster Rancher, a great Digimon game. Play my Dragon Quest, just things like that, where it's like there has been a demand for Monster Tamers. I don't think this would be as prevalent or as popular if it didn't have the guns, the Fortnite aspect. That's why everybody's saying like Pokemon with guns. I
mean, it takes
people just want to shoot
hours and hours and hours and hours to get anywhere near your first gun, though. Most of the time, you're running around with a spear in the early days, or a club. I think
AJ would like that.
With regards to
make a quick statement really quick before I forget. Will, sorry.
No.
So in terms of, is it a fad? Is it going to last? Right. I think it's going to last for sure. And the reason why is because this game fills a void that is very clearly prominent. Even if it is a fad, I don't think it would get to this level of success, because you got to remember, this is not a free-to-play game, right? You got to pay $30, right?
Yeah.
So it's not a free-to-play game like Fall Guys is, right? Fall Guys being as successful as it was is understandable because it's a free-to-play game. The barrier of entry is a lot lower. This is a game somebody had to pay $30 for to even get access to, number one. Number two, this game, like I said, fills a void that a lot of people have been wanting for a long time, and there is no other game that's really like it. That's an online open world multiplayer game that is very similar to Pokemon-esque, if you want to call it monster taming or whatever. There's nothing really out there that's like it, which is the reason why it's as successful as it is right now. I think it has long legs for sure, but the problem is that this kind of game, right? If Nintendo wanted to, they could kill this game instantly. They can, if Nintendo and Pokemon Company came out with Pokemon open world online, same exact concept, but you get to play the actual Pokemon, this game will be dead. It will be completely gone. But the problem is Nintendo refuses to do so.
Because you said people are paying for this game, and there's people in the comments. I knew this would come up. They were saying, "Well, it's free on Game Pass." That is true. It is free on Game Pass. However, the vast majority of even Xbox players are purchasing it. That's what's making this game such an oddity.
And Steam,
even though it's on Game Pass, Xbox players and Game
Steam
Pass
had how many concurrent players?
Which 1.2 million concurrent, 8 million sold in 6 days.
Holy shit!